themselves the elite.
If not us, who?
A little bit of the bubbly.
And if not now, when?
We don't care about race or gender or sex or religion. If you're an elite athlete, we want you.
This is an official declaration of war.
Change the world.
We are going to change the whole universe!
This is what you call a paradigm shift.
This is a family! This is a revolution! We can never stop!
All elite wrestling.
For the 39th time, it's Friday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for the next chapter of the only professional wrestling podcast that is changing the world every week. This is Seeing the Elite, an AEW podcast. I am your host, Bryce Reed. I am joined by my friend, my co-host, my tag team partner, Mr. Jonathan Davis.
What's up, dude?
If you're joining us for the first time, Jonathan and I are two friends, fans, lovers of professional wrestling who are here every single Friday morning with all the latest news from All Elite Wrestling, thanks to our EVP Chris Genro and our supporters on Patreon. This weekend, JD and I will be recording our Patreon special for December, which will be talking about the year of 2019 for AEW from its initial announcement on New Year's Eve of last year, talking our favorite matches, moments, breakout stars from 2019, and answering listener questions on our Discord. This episode is
some of them.
This episode is a special holiday gift just for those who help us make this show better and better every week. So if you want to get ears on this awesome bonus episode, head over to Patreon. Subscribers get a ton of awesome perks within our community, as well as bonus episodes, access to show notes, and getting to watch us record the show live. We hope that you'll consider joining our inner circle, patreon.com/seeing the elite. And yeah, get over to our Discord, tinyurl.com/seeing the elite, and get in some questions for that episode, and we'll answer them when they come up. This is not a sports entertainment show. It's an entertaining sports show supported by fans like you from all over the world on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars, just like Meltzer. It makes us feel so sweet. Jonathan, how sweet?
Too sweet, buddy.
Facebook.com/seeing the elite, Twitter @seeing the elite, and as always, we send a special thank you to our family, our group of awesome listeners and AEW fans from all over the world. tinyurl.com/seeing the elite gets you the invite to our Discord server, where you can talk with our champion equals Scorpion One. Forgive me for the remainder of this podcast. I'm finally coming out of the sickness that I caught, like basically started showing symptoms at the conclusion of last week's episode.
You got the plague?
Dude, bad. And so I've been dealing with that all week, and so you might hear a little more. So you might hear a little more nose in my speaking than you would usually hear, which is unfortunate for me. JD on the time codes as always. Sorry, my headphones being shitty. And we're gonna start.
If you'd lay off the cocaine, we would not have these problems.
Yeah, it's just, it's hard, you know. I was watching. What was I watching the other day on Disney Plus? I was watching
Scarface?
No, they don't have that on that service yet. They don't own that yet. I was watching Star Wars, the original Star Wars in 4K, and there's a scene where you can see Carrie Fisher's hand, where all of her nails are clipped except one pinky nail, and it's like, oh, Carrie.
Yeah, like the one time like she didn't have her fist closed or something in her hands. Yeah, I've seen that before. It's like, okay. That's the coke nail.
Oh, cocaine. Okay. Princess Leia's doing cocaine in the back of the fucking ship.
Yo, Carrie Fisher did some bumps, man.
Yeah. Taking
Good
a lot
times.
of bumps, just like Joey Janela.
Yeah.
Bumps in the ring, not cocaine. Come on. We're going to start, as we always do, with a quote. It's from two people. It's the Dark Order this week. They say, "We're here for the long run. It's only been 6 weeks of TV. Of course, you don't know much about us now, but that's by design. We're supposed to be mysterious. Just wait and see, and I promise there will be answers eventually. It's a question of patience. Most fans want to know who we are and everything we're going to do, but it's just starting. And in the first few episodes of season 1, you can't have the spoiler of season 10. There's so much to come. If you're confused now, be confused. That's okay." I wanted to bring this up because it kind of has a couple of interesting discussions that come out of it. First of all, it's kind of misunderstanding the problem that people had with the Dark Order. It wasn't that they were mysterious and we didn't know their intentions. It's that they seemed kind of hackneyed and lame.
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily misinterpreting why people were annoyed. It's full misdirection of like,
Right.
Oh, we know why you were annoyed. It was for this reason. So we're doing this crazier ass thing now.
Right.
And that's the funny part of like the Butcher and the Blade, who are doing essentially the same gimmick as the Dark Order was doing in the beginning and has gone over so much better.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that sort of thing later because there's kind of like 3 factions running right now that have kind of the same gimmick.
Yeah, they're falling a little bit down like the Lucha Underground tunnel with a very much of a good versus evil kind of theme going. It's pretty damn cool to me.
Which is cool, but there's creatively there's a bunch of characters that are kind of playing the same character, and not just in this. Like, I think. Who is it? Jimmy Havoc is like basically playing Mox, but like kind of gothy, you know? And
Goth Mox.
But like not even like they're not. We'll talk about it later. The point.
But yeah, but we're going. It's now Goth Mox.
The other interesting thing to bring from it is the things they're talking about that are kind of right, and I want to highlight it less from a creative perspective, although other people have had this quote too. Jericho has had this quote too, where he's like, "We've done fucking like 8 weeks of TV, guys." Like,
yeah, it's true.
We're 8 episodes in, and there like so many people have been like, "Oh, what?" I see someone this week like, "Oh, they've established Jericho, but they really don't have any other main event babyface talent." It's like, well, the show hasn't been on that long. And you're right, outside of Mox, they don't have any other main event talent because they have to create all of it. Like, they can't just hire a bunch of main event dudes and
no,
because then it's not AEW, it's fucking WWE cast-offs, which is not what they want.
And like they're building up their own people, which is the proper way to do things.
The other thing that's important to note is the idea of main event talent is like a fucking bullshit term. Like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, well, what's a main event talent? A main event talent is someone who wrestles in your main event, as noticed by like fucking Baron Corbin's a main event talent, but Baron Corbin's not a main event talent in the way that people mean that term. So people mean, oh, they don't have any stars. It's like, yeah, it's been fucking 8 weeks. Like, they're going to get there. But if you didn't see like, oh, that guy's going to be big from MJF or, Scorpio Sky the other week, or like a bunch of these guys, then I don't know what you're watching, because you're not watching the same show I'm watching.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to like, it's like hockey. I mean, there's Major League Hockey and Minor League Hockey. You want to know what the actual difference is? The money behind it.
Right.
I've been to minor league hockey games that were way more entertaining than a major league game. Mm-hmm. It's considered a feeder league to the big show. So it's like, you know, it is what it is. So I if you're building up your own talent and building your characters and stories properly, anyone can be a main event talent. And we haven't got to the point in AEW where there's a real delineation between who's top of the card, who's mid card, who's low card, any of that. Anybody can challenge for anything. Anybody can challenge Jericho, as proven by the fact that fucking Darby Allin had a title shot in the first month of TV.
If it's a comfort to anything, to anyone, Jonathan and I have been in this same position before when we covered Lucha Underground, because Lucha Underground had the same thing for a long time, where like kind of everybody was just talent.
Everybody was even.
And there wasn't really like, oh, there's a main event guy, there's a job. Like, AEW's actually been better at delineating that, because there are at least guys where I can be like, Peter Avalon not going to wrestle in the main event. He's just not.
Never.
They're not going to do that with him.
That's fair. Peter Avalon, QT Marshall, Brandon Cutler. 3 guys you will never see in the main events.
Or you will, but it'll be a token main event, right? Like, it'll be like, oh, okay, he made it to the main event, and it's so surprising because he's a fucking jabroni, right? And that's fine and that's great, but, like, people who are looking like, oh, there's no delineation between upper stars and lower stars, it's like, well, I actually think they're doing better than that than a lot of new companies, especially this early in. They really haven't had that much time to develop these people. So the biggest thing I would say, again, is just, while here I think it's a complete misdirection, like you said, like you say, oh, this is why you hate it. It's like, no, that's not why people hated it. I think the point he's making here about, like, give us a fucking minute, I think is true. And I would just, patience is a virtue for everybody.
Yeah. Unless you're Jericho and you go ahead and tell everybody what the plans for your title reign are on accident.
Being the Inner Circle. I'm going to kind of skim Being the Inner Circle this week because it's more important that this one happened than specifically what happened wherein. And it's mostly a bit of kind of like fucking around for 10 minutes. The first scene is with Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz, and they're sitting crisscross applesauce backstage enjoying a storybook time from Leva. Over the last week, Leva has gone from kidnap victim to, like, den mother. And there's a bit of a funny argument here over a boy band of some kind, but I'm not culturally aware enough to get what the reference was, and my research turned up nothing based on the clues I was given. So...
it's called Stockholm Syndrome.
The boy band?
No, the Leva.
Oh, okay. After this, Leva ends up leaving, on her own. She tells the boys to remember not to kidnap people, right? And the boys give her hugs and let her go. But Sammy steals her cell phone, and Santana knows exactly where to pawn it, of course.
Naturally.
He travels all over. He knows where all the stuff is, right? After this, there's a new Being the Inner Circle theme, which it looks like they spent like maybe 20 minutes on, followed by a parody of the sort of travel segments that Matt and Nick usually do, but none of the people in it, that's Sammy and Santana and Ortiz, have seen the show in a while because, as Sammy G says, quote, when AEW started, it kind of fell off, end quote, which is rough.
Yeah, dude, that was like, damn, boys, shots fired.
After this, Sammy sees Jake Hager pounding on a laptop keyboard like an ape.
Fucking caveman that he is.
Hey, watch your mouth. Sammy is...
Hey. I'm not arguing that this caveman role that he's in is better for him so he doesn't have to fucking speak. But it's still amusing, and especially watching him do that to a fucking $3,000 laptop. Like, I get it. The butterfly keyboard sucks, man. You don't have to put your fucking finger through it because you will.
How dare you? Sammy is curious to see what the big man is doing. He's editing this week's episode of Being the Inner Circle. Sammy starts giving suggestions, but quickly realizes it's not worth getting killed over. Then
snap that twig boy in half.
Right. Sammy, Proud and Powerful, and Hager do a mailbag. The best part is Santana and Ortiz ripping into Sammy G for hashtag milk first, which he made
what the
famous.
Fuck kind of psychopath is he?
Dude, that nothing in the world is going to get you more heat than that shit. And I love
like,
that
how are you that much of a psychopath?
They didn't even play along. They were like, nah, man, that's fucked up.
There was no joking in this. They was like, nah, dude, you're fucked up, and we can't be friends.
He was like, oh, because we're not going to have a long, drawn-out discussion of Milk First, mostly because we're both on the same side. But his argument was that you pour the milk in first and then you pour in the cereal.
So that your cereal doesn't get as soggy.
Right. But you don't want it to be fucking dry either. Like, there's a sweet spot for cereal. Am I wrong about this? There's a sweet spot for cereal between dry and soggy that you want to hit.
Yeah,
and,
it's called you pour your cereal in first, then you pour your milk on top of it.
Right. You're also less likely to make a mess.
Because milk splashes. It's like putting your Coke in your glass first,
right,
and then putting ice in it. You're going to make a mess everywhere.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Final segment. Like I said, this one went quick. It was like 11 minutes long, and it was mostly kind of just, the Inner Circle are backstage, and Santana starts clowning on the merch freak idea, right? And the lights start to flicker, and then they see Nick appear atop a locker in the corner of the room. Camera turns back. Go ahead.
The merch freak this week, he looks like a fucking crackhead.
His hair is getting really long.
Yeah, but he's like just appearing and no shirt on and just...
The camera turns
like,
back.
dude.
The camera turns back to see that Santana is now wearing Young Bucks merch. And the Inner Circle drop the camera and run out of the room. And then Cutler and Matt recover the camera with a little help from the merch freak as we go out on the theme song. It was a fun little thing. They didn't go as far as I think they could or should have with this idea. But that was being the Inner Circle, man. I really would have liked to have seen more done. I would have liked to have seen Jericho make an appearance at all.
Yeah, I feel like he is out of the arena as soon as he is done.
Hands off the belt, just walks directly out of the arena.
Oh yeah, because he doesn't get to keep it anymore. He fucked that up.
AEW Dark. Let's talk about AEW Dark. Now, you didn't end up getting to this week.
No,
but it's fine.
Cyber Week is a thing.
It's absolutely fine that you didn't because not a lot happened. Dark was a lot of recap this week. A lot of recap. Like, maybe out of the hour show, I would say like 20 minutes of it was recap. Yeah. And oh man, the pacing was really weird. But some stuff did happen. The interstitials were shot on green screen, you could tell, but they did use a background that almost looked like they were in the arena, as opposed to doing the sort of like virtual room thing that they were doing before.
Which we talked about. We knew that was going to happen because Tony was not on the trip last week.
Right, but I didn't know if they were going to go back to the control center, end quote, or not.
Right, that's fair.
Looks like the plan is to do it in the arena when they can, and then fake being in the arena when they can't. I think it's a fine compromise. Nyla Rose was on commentary for the entire episode, and
yeah, I heard not great things.
I cannot stress this to you enough, Jonathan. It was fucking brutal.
I was skimming through Discord and oof.
She very clearly wasn't comfortable, and kind of. It's a little bit of Excalibur's fault because he wasn't yes-anding her, and he probably should have been to a greater extent, but the jokes she was making were not good, and I think they were throwing off his rhythm, because she kept doing this idea that, like, Excalibur would say, Jimmy Havoc's doing this dastardly thing, and then she'd be like, oh, no, that's not what's happening, this is happening, which, Bobby the Brain used to do all the time, but he was like smart, so it worked.
Okay, don't go smart. Like
he was more comedically talented than she is, and
fair.
So it worked better.
It takes you have to have a rhythm and a very quick wit to kind of do shit like that.
Yes, and so her, like he pulled out the stapler, and she was like, "Oh, it's not a stapler, it's a single slice toaster," and it's like. No, it's not. It's a stapler.
It's a goddamn stapler. Yeah,
we can see what it is. It's a staple gun. He uses it all the time.
If this was the first time he'd used it, sure, but
it would be one thing if she made this joke once. She continually did it throughout the match, and just little out of character things that didn't really make any sense for her. At one point, X said, "Oh, he's doing his duty," and she was like, "Haha, you said duty," and it's like. Okay. It was really tough. Like some of these people they brought up, Dustin. Dustin was a lot better than this, but man,
like,
it was tough to hear.
When Dustin was doing it, it was also like he was not great on commentary because he was invested watching the matches, and he couldn't keep up with commentary and watching the match because he is in love with wrestling that much.
Mm-hmm.
Other people that we've seen on commentary that haven't been great are just like, yeah, this is not for you.
And there were certain people that they've kind of held off from doing commentary because it doesn't really make sense for them to do it. I think Nyla should have been earmarked to be one of those people. But they also seem like they're kind of feeling around for her character, and I guess maybe that was some.
Oh, they
of the
100% are, because this is in, let's say 6 weeks, or no, it's been, let's say 3 months.
Right.
She's had at least 3 different characters.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas opposed to, like, they're not going to put Darby on fucking commentary because it makes no sense for him to be talking for that long, right? So,
no, I heard this week on commentary it should be more interesting. Well, part of it, Britt joined for part of it, and I don't understand that, but we already know she sucks at commentary. We've seen that before. But the best friends and Orange Cassidy were on commentary for one of the matches.
Oh man, there's a fucking perfect team to have on commentary.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah. So I mean, the whole and it takes a lot of guts, and that job's a lot harder than people think it is. So like, I don't want to rack on her maybe as hard as I did, but throughout the episode, I was like, oh man, I wish that I didn't have to cover this so that I could just turn the audio off on this episode. It's just like, because it was really tough, man. Havoc versus Cutler was the first match. I didn't think this match did a lot for really either of these guys. Both of these guys are capable of putting on, I think, an okay match. Outside of death matches, Havoc doesn't really appear to have much to him right now in the company. They really haven't given him an opportunity to kind of show the gothier side, but at least he has death matches, which is more than I can kind of say for Cutler.
And the other thing is, like, they haven't put Jimmy Havoc in any of the death matches.
No.
Which is
they
unfortunate.
haven't given him his shot against Mox, which they've done with all the other deathmatch guys, right?
Or Joey.
Right. Cutler, his new gear is a step in the right direction, I think. He's got this sort of Drago type.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've seen his new ring gear. It looks really fucking cool.
Havoc won the match with his Acid Rainmaker that he does. It gets kind of a golf clap from the crowd, unfortunately. After the match, Havoc goes to ringside, grabs the staple gun, and staples a $10K check to Cutler's head, right? Cutler and a nameless authority guy in a leather jacket, they come to the back, tell Havoc that he's going to be fined $10,000 every time he uses the staple gun. Havoc says he knows, and that's why he stapled the $10,000 check to Cutler's forehead. He then goes on to say, when AEW signed Havoc, they signed a liability, and they have no right to act surprised now. I think it's kind of a funny idea, but I think they should focus on the goth thing with him, because this lawless badass thing is a character that Mox is already playing and a character that Mox is already doing a better job of, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, if they can mix this staple gun in with this, right. I mean, but I would agree.
I just think Havoc is better served as like the best goth on the roster than he is as the like second or third best loose cannon character.
Yeah.
Right? And unfortunately, the character that he's playing now of this, like, I don't care what, find me if you want or whatever, like, Mox is already doing so much of a better job than that Havoc just kind of seems like Diet Mox or something.
Yeah,
with a little bit of a goth
pales in
twinge.
comparison.
Or just like mid-card Mox, right? Or whatever. It's very much like, okay, somebody's already doing this and they're doing it so much better than you that you should probably change what you're doing and focus more on the thing that you're doing that's kind of unique for around here, which is this sort of deeper gothic character. Even though Darby kind of treads that line too, I think you could go there because Darby is more like, I don't care what happens to me, and Havoc is more like, I don't care what happens to you.
I think the real thing is like, even though they have signed all these guys, and not just guys, but women as well, tag teams as well, is like they've signed a lot of people that do the same type of gimmick.
Sure.
Inherently, and that was the reason why they were signed. And now you're getting to the point of like, okay, well, we got 6 of the same guy on the roster. What do we do?
Right. And and Havoc's an interesting case because he does sort of mix that lawless badass thing with the sort of horror themed character like the Dark Order and the Butcher and the Blade and Darby. And so that's kind of interesting. But I don't know. I feel like there's only enough space for so many of each character.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I just hope he doesn't get lost in the shuffle because wrestling is difficult because you really don't have anything that's proprietary unless you're fucking incredible on the mic. And he's good on the mic, but he's not incredible on the mic.
No, not nearly as much as other talent who is in the same exact role.
Right. Sonny Kiss versus Sean Spears was the next match. It was okay. It was clearly meant to highlight Spears, give him another win. Sonny did the job of really made me feel sympathetic during the match as Tully and Sean sort of like cheated their way to victory, the way they always do. Spears won by pinfall off of a Death Valley driver and then threw Kiss to ringside where Sean and Tully hit Sonny with their double team spike pile driver thing that they do at ringside. And then after that, there was legitimately 10 minutes straight of recap and reuse footage in the middle of the episode, which was like, wow. Like, had me feeling like if they'd broken it up better, like maybe I wouldn't have felt so much like, oh, wow, a lot of recap this episode. But it really felt like there was a lot of recap this episode. Like, they did recap, and then they showed the BBC documentary fake thing, right? And then for Jurassic Express, and they showed a couple other things, and it was like, oh man, a lot of recap. And if that's what the show is, okay, but like I don't think that the show needs that much. And if you don't have that much content, then like if I'm watching Dark, like I understand the idea is like, oh, Dark, like it has a lower barrier of entry, you can pull people in or whatever, but like we've seen the ratings for Dynamite, and we've seen what Dark pulls on YouTube. Assuming that I'm watching Dark without watching Dynamite is pretty. There's no way that's true.
I was like, yeah, if you're watching Dark, you're watching Dynamite. That's just the two things about that.
Sure. Marco and Jungle Boy versus Proud and Powerful. I thought this match was actually great, and they actually got close to 20 minutes to get their shit in, and I really enjoyed it. Santana and Ortiz are so smooth with nearly everybody. They've had just great match after great match. I think they were an excellent signing. Santana pinned Marco off of an awesome combination of power bombs that the two of them did, and then things devolved into this brawl between Jurassic Express and the Inner Circle, which culminated in furthering the heat between Luchasaurus and Jake Hager and Proud and Powerful, and the Young Bucks also got in on that. And finally, Sammy G takes a cool Canadian destroyer from Marco, like Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus threw Marco into the air, and he landed on Sammy G for the Canadian Destroyer, which was pretty cool. Sent everybody home happy, and that was kind of the end of Dark from Chicago. Again, it was fine, but it continues to sort of highlight problems with certain characters and highlight issues they have in the production of this show as well. But that's the end of it. Only big news for this week that's worth reporting, besides Sheeta's adorable struggle with learning how to use a fucking American oven, which was wild to see this week, had me on the edge of my seat. AEW signs a pay-per-view deal with In Demand for quarterly events through 2021. All Elite Wrestling has expanded its pay-per-view reach by signing a deal with In Demand for quarterly events through 2021. The press release announcement states, In Demand, the leading transactional video on demand and pay-per-view programming distributor owned by Charter Communications, Comcast Cable, and Cox Communications, announced that it has finalized a deal with All Elite Wrestling for a programming output deal that guarantees In Demand a minimum of one pay-per-view event per quarter through June 2021. Quote, we're huge fans of AEW's exciting wrestling talent and events and are pleased to partner with them as they continue to build their audience, marketing, and distribution, said Mark Bacardi. Not spelled the way you think it is. In Demand's Senior Vice President, Programming and Marketing. Quote, this commitment from AEW demonstrates that our programming partners see the value in a long-term relationship with In Demand. And with the pay-per-view platform itself, we're able to offer our content partners the largest distribution reach in the pay-per-view business, as well as customized marketing and promotional support. He continues, AEW pay-per-view events are the best shows in wrestling, and In Demand is a perfect pay-per-view partner for us as well as our fans, which is according to Tony Khan. He continues, with In Demand's vast reach and connectivity, we'll be able to bring all of our AEW pay-per-view shows into the homes of wrestling fans throughout North America. End quote. In Demand delivers content to more than 60 million cable homes per the press release. It's important to note what this means. This is not a rollback on their partnership with BR Live or anybody else. This is in addition to.
It's basically that all the people who had like Comcast cable can now watch the fucking pay-per-views.
Right. It's just additional distribution to everything that you've been watching. So if you have a platform you've been watching these shows through, you're going to continue to be able to watch those. But if you've been a Comcast or a Cox user or a Charter user, you'll be able to buy the pay-per-view through their pay-per-view distribution platform now, which is great for AEW.
Yeah, probably won't be any cheaper though, and that could also it'll probably help out a lot with pay-per-view buys because, I mean, let's be honest, most wrestling fans they're not going to really go out of their way to order something. If they can't get it through pay-per-view, which is their typical model because they have Comcast or Cox or Charter,
right,
and they have to jump through hoops with a new app and stuff, like they're just not going to do it.
It'll be interesting to see what impact it has on the numbers. AEW has traditionally had a very high percentage of digital purchases for the pay-per-views, higher than basically any other sport. We've had a high streams. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of impact it really has, especially because they're going for a younger market. They're going for kind of a nerdier wrestling market, right? So, but we'll see. I mean, being in more shops is not a bad thing, ever.
No, not at all.
So, let's talk about Dynamite, though. A lot of people were disappointed in last week's show, which I don't really get. But the people that I talked to that were disappointed in last week's show said this show was like a complete rebound for them content-wise, which is comforting. I thought that the show was really, really great this week. It opened with the title sequence, which we haven't seen in a while now, and a ramp that goes right to the ring because the arena was on the smaller side, one of these college arenas, but even for that, one of the smaller college arenas that they've run. Interesting note, no instant replay at all this week.
Maybe there maybe have been a very small amount, but not
at all.
Like we're used to.
They didn't do it at all, and they even mentioned it kind of on commentary. They're like, "Oh, we gotta get a replay of that." And then one time somebody said it, and then they never said it. They never said it again the rest of the night, which was pretty crazy. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. You know, I don't think I don't I have never really liked cutting away from the action to drool over something we just saw, but I don't think that it was a creative choice. I think it was a technical thing.
Yeah, it seemed like they were having a lot of technical difficulties this week all around.
Yeah.
I think it's not necessarily a bad thing. WWE definitely overemphasizes instant replay and uses it way too much.
Right.
So when you see a show that doesn't use it at all, it is very striking and it's like, oh, okay, that's what that's like.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it's like to actually just watch a fucking match without getting shit thrown in my face. It's bad enough I'm getting big old ads in the middle of the fucking matches. The Young Bucks and Dustin Rhodes versus Proud and Powerful and the Spanish God, Sammy Guevara. Dustin has Young Bucks themed gear for this match, and it's fucking awesome. Unfortunately, the first half of this match is plagued by audio and video issues, which are worse than any that we've previously encountered. Although, according to Fight users, this was TNT's fault, because apparently Fight had perfect audio and video throughout the night.
Not just Fight, but also TSN in Canada. This was literally TNT fucking everything up.
Man, did they mess it up, man. Oh, the audio was quiet, and then it felt like they cut everything except commentary.
Yeah, and then it popped way high.
Oh, it was bad. It was rough, man. And I feel so bad for AEW because I know they got a deluge of fucking tweets about like, oh, fix your fucking audio. Like, oh, you're gonna beat WWE with its fucking terrible audio or whatever. And they were like, well, it's not us, so
Whoops.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think it's a shame because the match itself was fucking fire. Like, legitimately amazing opening contest. I fucking love this match. And Dustin, in particular, is so goddamn fucking good.
He really, dude, that the time he's had off has helped him out so much by being able to legitimately recover from the injuries he's had over his career.
From the injuries he's had, he's in amazing shape. He's taking to this different form of wrestling that they're doing so well, you know, where he doesn't have a producer coming to him every night and being like, slow down. If you think you're going too slow down, you know. Instead, you know, he was moving faster than some of those guys out there tonight, and last night, rather, and it was fucking nuts, man. It was crazy. He's so good. But everybody in this match over-delivered. There was a great moment where Ortiz yelled, "Suck my dick!" And the guy on the dump button in the truck was late and dumped audio for like 3 seconds after it.
Well, you know, that happens in every company, because especially with Ortiz, they don't know what he's going to say, and I'm betting my ass they heard "suck" and they were panicking to hit the button, and then by the time it went through, it was like, okay, well, we all know what he said.
Well, he just kind of yelled it out in the ring, and you heard the whole thing. I'd love to hear what happened out back. Like, hey, we got the ring mics really hot, so maybe don't yell "suck my dick" in the middle of the match. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Dustin hitting Santana with a fucking Canadian Destroyer was outrageous. Awesome finish spot with Matt, Dustin, and Nick doing a triple team, double Meltzer foot stomp senton thing. And Matt covering Guevara for the 1, 2, 3. I thought it was a fucking unreal match, man. Like, just awesome. Trent versus Ray Phoenix was the match that followed. Justin Roberts introduced Ray Phoenix as, quote, being accompanied to the ring by Pentagon Jr., but that's not how it happened. To quote James T. Kirk, but that's not how it happened.
Yeah, that was a little weird. And even the commentary was like, oh, yeah, Pentagon's not here helping, supporting his brother. That seems odd.
Yeah. Trent did have Chuck and Orange Cassidy at ringside. Pentagon Jr., of course, not there because he had a match later in the night.
Yeah, man, that face paint takes a long time to put on.
Oh, yeah. But it wasn't worth him potentially getting into a scuffle with other people over. I understand the motivation for not being there. This match is good, but it's really hard to follow a match like the opener with a really slower singles contest like this.
Yeah, it was also like it's very similar to what was happening in the Pentagon match later. Both guys were slowing down for their competition. Now, Phoenix slowing down to match Trent is really just Phoenix slowing down to at a normal person's work rate, which is fair, and it's not as obvious. Pentagon slowing down for CD, that was rough.
Oh yeah. Trust me, we will discuss that. Especially, so they did need to take a sizable break in the middle of this match, too. Phoenix takes the win with his muscle buster Michinoku driver thing that he's doing. Phoenix has a 2-0 singles record now, which is interesting. We go back to break as Trent offers a handshake to Phoenix, and Phoenix refuses, which turns into a bit of a brawl, and it takes Chuck and Orange Cassidy to pull Chuck back and let Phoenix escape. We then move on into a segment with Cody. Cody comes out, he cuts a promo. It is unsurprisingly good, despite opening with a Garth Brooks quote.
Oh, fuck you.
I didn't take you for a big Garth Brooks fan, so I'm sorry. His first target is the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. Cody says he's happy to have a fight anytime, anywhere. They need only choose it, and they can even pick his tag team partner. We would later come to learn via a YouTube video from MJF that the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny were acting on his direct order and payroll when they attacked Cody. It is Maxwell himself who will choose Cody's partner, a man that MJF has said is, quote, really, really good, end quote, and that it was revealed later in the night that MJF chose QT Marshall to be Cody's tag team partner against the Butcher.
I really like how that they have MJF doing this evil mastermind kind of thing.
Yeah.
It works really, really well for him.
Yeah.
And that little bit, like the YouTube video is fucking hilarious.
It is.
But
I think it would have been so great if he'd chosen himself to be Cody's partner, dude.
Oh, man. That would have been top notch. But him picking QT is honestly even better.
Yeah.
So I'm good with this. I'm actually looking forward to the match. I think it'll be a good match.
And MJF is he's got to be involved in that match in some way.
Yeah.
Cody then turns his attention to MJF after making fun of MJF's height, saying that he's
allegedly
ghetto rich.
Has a fake scarf.
Right, says that the scarf is fake and that his proven horrible crossroads.
Yeah, the quote was being botched on 2 channels now.
Cody talks about how Max says he will, quote, never, end quote, wrestle Cody Rhodes. Cody realizes that he has basically no leverage here, so he offers the keys to his limited edition truck. He offers the Omega Seamaster, which is a $4,000 watch, which was given to him by Tony Khan. From around his wrist, throws it on the mat. He offers the red bottoms on his feet, the Louis Vuitton shoes that he's wearing.
No, those are Christian Louboutins, buddy.
Oh, are they different people?
Louboutin, not Louis Vuitton.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry for that one. Sorry for the two men who both work in fashion and have an identical name.
They don't have identical names.
Oh my
God. His name is Christian Louboutin. Not Louis Vuitton.
Louboutin and Lou Vuitton. Same person.
Not
okay?
the same person
This is
at
a
all.
pen name, I swear to God. But shows how much I know about high-end fashion.
Fucking plebe.
He even offers a briefcase with $50,000 in it. Cody takes out a C-note and gives it to a kid at ringside to prove that it's real. Although that really only proves that one C-note was real.
I don't care. That was awesome. That kid's just walking
good for
out
that
there
kid.
with $100.
That kid was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yeah. Like,
He
like the kid was like, "Is this is real? Okay, this is mine now."
Like a dude would have freaked out. Like a dude who understood would have freaked out. A kid is just like, what?
You're giving me money?
I'm supposed to keep this? What's going on?
Do I give it back or?
Cody says that he still believes that Max is the future, but an education is the passport there, and Cody intends to give Max an education. He need only name his price. After this, we get a backstage segment with Marvez and Joey Janela.
Painful.
Janela cuts. I thought it was a decent promo from Janela.
That part wasn't painful. That was good.
About how excited he is to fight Moxley with the lights on this time, where it, quote, counts, end quote. He says, this time, you'll actually have to kill me. That's when Mox enters the frame. He stares silently, he shrugs, and he says, kids. Yeah, it's just like, I guess I'll have to fight him, you know?
Just like the straight up disapproving old man. Like, all right,
right.
let's do it.
I guess we'll fight. We then move into a Dark Order segment, continuing on the last ones, you know, taped just as well. Kind of this continuing story of indoctrination. It opens with an angry nerd at his computer talking, oh, nobody understands me, like all this stuff. I think it would have been so much funnier if he was like, this match sucked, you know. But he wasn't.
on Reddit squared circle.
Right. Like he's like, oh, the Dark Order need to change their ring gear or whatever, you know. I think that would have been so much funnier, but they didn't go there with it. Instead, he was talking about feeling alienated and things about that. There's this creepy ceremony with torches in the woods, which I thought was pretty cool. You think they should stay away from torches?
Yeah
Is it dangerous imagery? I feel like torch lit ceremonies in the woods are
especially in Georgia,
a little too close to KKK stuff.
Yeah, just a little tiny bit. Yeah,
not so much that I'm upset about it, because like you're trying to create a cult atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
And like you're doing it, but like it is
don't
really
go
close.
to a goddamn graveyard and light some torches and
yeah. I did get the feeling watching it where I'm like, this is
a little sketchy.
It's about as close as you want to get, and I think.
You're still a little bit towing the line a little bit too far.
The inclusion of torches and that kind of imagery is a dangerous line to walk. And I think they landed just on the correct side of it, but like just.
Yeah.
All it would have taken is because they brought in one guy and he was wearing like a blinder hood. Thankfully, it was black. All it would have taken is that hood being white, and it would have been like, oh, okay, where are we going, guys? So that, that was tough for me with that segment. But I understood where they were going. I think it was just not even a mistake. Just like creatively, just like we're kind of in the wrong area.
It kind of goes both ways. I mean, I get where they're going. They're pushing hard on the cult thing. It's the thing of it is, though, is that what a lot of people don't understand is that the KKK is also a cult.
Right.
It has a very cult mentality. It's a terrorist organization, but it's also a cult. So it's like there's not really much you can do to convey that kind of a setting.
Right.
So I get it. It's also like you said, they towed a very fine line, and they did it as close as they could, but all it would have taken was one little misstep and shit would have hit the fan.
Yeah, it would have been tough to get back from that, I think. Nyla Rose versus Leva Bates. Has Nyla Rose's music always been like a fucking jam? Because it was this week.
No.
And it felt like they changed some things about her entrance.
Well, this is also the first time that she's actually came out with music.
Oh, okay.
Because most times, like the Battle Royale, she didn't. Mm-hmm. I don't think she did against Riho, but she's also just been like, running in on people, so it's not had music.
I think she's had music before. I just think it's been different. Especially for the title match and shit like that. I think that she had music. I'm
sure she did. It's just it was not good music.
Noted terrible commentator Nyla Rose makes quick work of both Leva and Peter Avalon, who helped her, pinning Leva off the Beast Bomb and then hits Leva with a second Beast Bomb. That's when Shauna makes the save. Shauna was apparently attacked by Nyla last week at a kayfabe meet and greet before Dynamite in Chicago, and we didn't learn about this until earlier this week, for anybody who wants to be clued into what's going on there. So, yeah, apparently there was an attack at this backstage meet and greet thing, and that's where this all stems from. Shauna does her best, but ultimately Nyla overpowers her. During picture-in-picture, Nyla sets up a table in the ring. Knox tries to stop Nyla from getting involved, so he's the first to go through it. And then there's a fun shot of Britt Baker looking concerned in the audience, and apparently X said on commentary, that's Adam Cole's girlfriend, which is a bit of a nudge to her being
great,
at NXT
dude.
Last weekend.
Making the same face, though.
Right.
Which is why it will soon be a new Discord command from our wonderful bot.
Only people on Fight would have heard this, so because it was in picture-in-picture, but that's pretty funny that they pointed out that way. Nyla powerbombs Shauna on top of Knox and then exits, and she has been suspended without pay for the rest of the year.
So
Nyla Rose
one paycheck?
2.
Maybe.
Right, but... I mean, she's not really missing any pay.
No.
Her character has been suspended without pay for 3 weeks, although really 2 because they're not running the 3rd week. Jericho enters after the break, and we move into this Jericho segment. Jericho and Hager enter because Jericho once again has something to say. I do think that they've been going back to the well with the Jericho having a promo a few too many times lately.
I can't agree with that. I don't think so yet. They're coming close though. It feels like that because they're doing them continuously week after week. That's
yeah.
My real issue is why Jake Hager came out looking like fucking Grimace. Or Barney. I mean, what logical man decides to wear a fucking maroon shirt and pants matching jumper?
I thought it was a speed suit at first.
Yeah, I did as well. And then it's like a tailored pair of pants and a polo shirt, and it's like, which
would have been pretty funny if it was a speed suit, but it
would have been. Yeah, it's like, okay, we get it.
Jericho, after he has a plug for a little bit of the bubbly, which sold 12,000 bottles in 1 week.
Which
I don't know
insane.
if that's impressive or not. Is it? Is that a lot for an alcohol?
For some bullshit like this? Hell yeah.
Jericho goes on to say that he's been informed that he is contractually obligated to compete one more time in the year 2019, and he has chosen to do so on the last proper Dynamite of the year, December 18th, from Corpus Christi, Texas, which apparently AEW is dead set on going out in the worst wrestling town in history for the year, which that's really unfortunate, but apparently that venue has a great rental deal because it's the same venue WWE runs, and every time they run it, the crowd is fucking terrible. So we'll see. But apparently there's something enticing them to go to Corpus Christi, Texas, because it's not the fucking crowd.
Maybe everybody's getting like free blowjobs or something.
I don't know. Maybe they can run that fucking venue for free as long as they put it on television. God knows what's going on down there, man. Everything's bigger in Texas, though. That's what I've heard. So.
Yeah, I keep hearing that too.
Jericho has a few things that he absolutely refuses to do. So, as he often does, Chris Jericho has made a list. It's not a list of holds or a list of Jericho, but a, quote, lexicon of Le Champion. This is... Oh, man, does this fucking bother me? But we're going to move on from it. It's not what lexicon means, but...
Dude,
okay,
that was gold, man.
It's, nice alliteration. I'll give him that, but that's not what the fucking word means. On the list...
You don't want an LLC? I mean, a second LLC?
I get it. I understand everything going into it. But it's not a fucking lexicon. That's not what it is. On the list is a bunch of people, both within AEW and elsewhere, that he will not wrestle. And Moxley is given a repeat entry every 3 or 4 people for good measure. But, he'd be like Kenny Omega, Kenny Ortega, Kenny from South Park,
That was amazing. I was really just waiting for him to start dipping into indie. He touched on some indie people, but going NXT people.
Right.
Okay, he's gonna hit Adam Cole in a minute, and that's gonna be great.
Jericho reads down the list until he hits the word Marty, and then music hits, which I thought was kind of cute of them to do, and also really tough timing. So kudos to them for getting that timing just right.
Yeah, that's a real razor fine line to hit. We all know Marty Scurll's coming, or they could fuck with us and it could be Marty the Moth. I'm down for both.
Yeah, either way or both. Yeah, bring both, man. Since apparently we lost Johnny Mundo this week.
Pour one out for our homie.
Going back to WWE, wow. Which means we probably won't get Taya either, which is really unfortunate.
And she'll end up wrestling Charlotte 1 billion times.
Breaks my fucking heart. Breaks my heart that we won't have Johnny Mundo.
Breaks my heart that fucking Jake Hager's in this bullshit and didn't go with Johnny Mundo because they're...
The mayor of Slamtown not going to be here. Hager's here. Luchasaurus is here. Both of them trained rather extensively by Johnny Mundo. So down comes Jurassic Express. Jericho says dinosaurs and little children are also on the list. And there's a fun back and forth here with Marco Stunt and Luchasaurus before Jericho turns his attention to the only man who's not on the lexicon.
I can't believe you don't have the greatest line that's ever been said on TV.
Yeah, what's that?
The one with Luchasaurus, how his people have been repressed and talked bad. I can't remember the exact wording, but talked bad against for 65 million years.
Yeah, he said we've been marginalized for 65 million years. It would be a better line if I hadn't heard him use it before 3 or 4 times.
Doesn't matter.
And that's just me. I'm sure if people had never heard it on TV, it was hilarious. Jungle Boy grabs the mic away from Jericho after Jericho says that Jungle Boy is a piece of shit and that Jungle Boy wouldn't last 10 minutes in the ring with Le Champion. And he says, I know I can last 10 minutes with you, and I'm going to kick your ass. As he slaps Jericho across the face, a brawl breaks out, and Jurassic Express maintains the high ground here, and Jericho throws a tantrum, of course, and then retreats to the back. I thought it was a good segment. I'm excited to see Jungle Boy in a singles match against Jericho.
That'd be good,
interesting. Interesting. There's not a fucking chance in hell he's going to win, but it'll be good.
Hell no, but it'll be a solid match. And also, we had Jungle Boy's first words. Also great.
That's true. First words from Jungle Boy on really any AEW content that we've heard.
Maybe ever.
And surprisingly, he's not fucking bad at it either.
No, it's kind of like his dad's a famous actor or some shit.
Yeah, it's almost like he's been surrounded by acting his entire fucking life. Chris Statlander versus Hikaru Shida. A really solid match from both women. Statlander is the first that I've seen successfully to guard against Shida's chair running knee with the chair business at ringside, which I hope gets used kind of more sparingly in the future because I think the setup's a little contrived for it to be used in every match.
They did it. Emi Sakura guarded against it last week by kind of being a fucking tool. But yeah, this is more an actual guard against it.
Yeah. What can only be described as a massive upset, Statlander gets the win here off of her signature cradle tombstone pile driver. I hate to see Shida lose, but I love this move because it sort of upsets like this remind us that it's not all about this person's stronger than this person, so they're going to win or whatever. To have somebody who's not even in the rankings top the person at the top of the rankings in this one match, I think is really good, and is probably just a measure to prolong this feud with Chris Statlander so that they don't immediately have to put her against Rio. And we'll see who comes out on top on that. Probably Shida. Shida's probably still the plan. Please. After this, Brandy and Kong come out to ringside, and Brandy cuts a really weird promo, which didn't answer any questions that I had, and if anything, has left me with more questions.
I think that was the point. I was down for this. I thought it was cool. It was weird, but it was cool. She started a new little faction that's creepy as all hell. Got a cool t-shirt out about it. It all makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
I agree. I think the things she's saying are kind of creepy. I wish that the way that she was saying them was more creepy.
That's fair. I can deal with that. The interesting thing is like, this segment was hated.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, there's been a lot of criticism towards this segment. I
can see why, because it's structured really weird. Because Brandy,
especially the part at the end, is where people like really lost their shit.
It was really fucking strange, man. Brandy and Kong are calling themselves the Nightmare Collective. Brandy asks Statlander if she wants to pledge herself to the Nightmare Collective, and then a quote fan, end quote, who is actually Chicago area wrestler Melanie Cruz, starts shouting from the front row that she loves Kong and Brandy and is ready and willing to pledge. And Brandy and Kong take some of Melanie Cruz's hair, and then they all exit together.
No, they took a lot of that chick's hair.
Well, yes, they did take a lot of that chick's hair. It's just really, it's really strange that they came out. They didn't really seem to have an objective other than for Brandy to cut a promo, which she'd been advertised to do. And then Brandy came out and cut this promo and said, Chris Statlander, you're sticking your nose in my business, which I guess Statlander had done by virtue of having a match.
That part was little weird. If she had come out after someone else, like maybe Jamie Hayter or B. Priestley, someone basically, continue on the thing of like that she's going after everyone that was losing to Britt Baker.
Right.
It would have been more impactful.
Right, but then so she comes out with this mission to talk to Statlander, and then this other thing just sort of happens.
Yeah.
And she goes, okay. Instead of like her coming out after the match and being like, is there anybody in the arena that, because then it would seem like her objective didn't just suddenly shift and then she forgot about what she was doing, which is what kind of happened here. Like in writing, you kind of want this, instead of this happens and this happens and this happens, you want it to be because, right? This happens because this happened, and and therefore this happens, right? And so it was really weird for her to come out seemingly with either no objective or the objective to talk to Statlander, and then it pivoted to this other thing that kind of seemingly randomly happened. And then the other thing that was kind of weird about it is that they pretended that this girl was a fan, but then immediately on social media were like, oh, did we sign her or whatever? Like,
well,
it's like, okay, so she's not a fan, she's a fucking wrestler, and you should have just.
Well, it's also like you knew at the beginning, as soon as the girl started talking, it's like, okay, she's not a fan.
Right,
it's very clearly she's a plant.
So if you know she's a plant, then don't bother doing it that way, because you're immediately going to know it's a fucking plant. So,
there's no real winning for that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I agree, but it's also just a very strange thing overall.
Yeah. So didn't hate it. Don't really hate anything on this show. Just it was one of those moments where I was like, okay, kind of weird planning and weird execution on your part, guys. And it's gonna be there. Like I said, we're 8 episodes in or whatever, 6 episodes in. So, it was really weird. Following that was Christopher Daniels versus Pentagon Jr. And you're right about this match. This match is all right, but Pentagon was definitely working slower for Daniel's benefit throughout the match.
Like dramatically slow. It felt like Pentagon was going at like half speed.
A lot slower. And it's important to note that Christopher Daniels was ready to retire from this business a long time ago.
Yeah, about
years and years and years ago. So
I mean, he said like before All Out, like I'm on my this is my farewell tour kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was over a year ago now.
I think beyond that, I don't think they have a ton of chemistry as workers either. I would have much rather have seen Pentagon work with like Sky or someone like that.
Maybe even Kazarian. I think it would have been a better match.
It's this thing with CD and CD wants to work with him, which okay, but it was pretty clear that things had to be slowed down pretty significantly, seemingly for Daniels, because I've seen Pentagon work way faster than that with a lot of people. There was a pretty funny botch where he went for a sit-out springboard.
Was fucking money, dude.
Onto the ramp.
Like,
and
even
just
commentary was like, what the fuck was that shit?
So he goes up for it, he misses the rope, and then he just fucking beefs it on his back. Like, just fucking flat bumps on the fucking ramp. It was rough, man.
The best part of that is I saw that, and I was, for whatever reason, it was like that was the one moment I was paying like super close attention. Right. And I looked at, like, you saw Pentagon's face, and Pentagon's trying not to laugh because he's like, oh shit.
Pentagon took home the win off of a package pile driver with a little help from a low blow that he took while the ref was distracted with Rey Fenix at ringside. And I watching this match, I laughed so hard because the ref turned around literally a split second before Pentagon. Like, the timing was so tight.
Yeah, like these aren't things like you could really do twice because the second time you're gonna fuck it up.
After this, there was a great pre-tape from the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. They're here to, quote, cut the head off the snake, end quote, and cause chaos. Which, as we talked about earlier, also kind of seems what the Nightmare Collective is here to do, and also kind of seems what the Dark Order is here to do.
The Dark Order is here to start a cult.
Start a cult, but start a cult to what end?
Yeah, fair enough.
To cause chaos, right? Like, everybody is... I think theirs is a different thing than Jimmy Havoc, where in this thing they're trying to be dark and mysterious, and in being dark and mysterious you have to be kind of vague about your intentions, right? And
I think they would have come off way better if they had just come out and said, like, yeah, we're here because MJF is bankrolling us.
Right. It's time that one of these entities, like, you can still be dark and dastardly and also be sort of upfront about what you're doing there, right? Having so many of these all of the dark factions being like, you'll find out what we're doing later, is like, okay, so none of you know what the fuck you're doing here. Which, you know, is fine, but it's not as good as it could be. If it just feels like a lot of people playing the same part. You know, which is what it is. Joey Janela versus Jon Moxley was the main event for the night. I thought it was a decent, enjoyable main event singles match, even though I felt it lacked any sort of like hugely exciting moment from the two of them. There was a pretty cool avalanche schoolboy from Janela. There was a part where both of them went crashing through the timekeeper's table. That was pretty sweet. And Mox gets the win off of a deep paradigm shift that he did. This was followed by Jericho coming out and standing in the crowd to mirror Mox from last week as we go off air. So it looks like that is continuing, even though Jericho's like, oh, I'm not going to fight him. No, that's definitely the feud that they're moving forward with into the next pay-per-view, which another week without us knowing what the fucking pay-per-view is going to be called. Getting close.
So... yeah, I don't think that one's moving into
Maybe they're saving it for dailies. Maybe they'll talk about it at dailies.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be at the pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so Jericho did an interview with I think it was Busted Open Radio, and basically said, I know where my story is going through January 15th. Okay. Which is Bash at the Beach.
Okay.
On the cruise.
Yeah, okay. I mean, just because he knows where his story is going through then doesn't mean he's going to lose it there at all.
No, but then he quickly recanted. It's like, I know we have everything planned out. It's like, we had a good winter ahead of us. But, like, oh yeah, buddy, you kind of fucked up. Now, whether true
I don't know.
or not,
I don't read that. I don't specifically. I feel like some of that is assuming that he means this thing when I wouldn't necessarily take it that way. But I agree with you. Where it is a little suspect his wording there,
especially with the dates.
Sure.
Yeah, but we'll see. I can see them doing a very much of a pay-per-view-esque event on Bash at the Beach.
Well, from the cruise, definitely.
Yeah,
take advantage of that.
Yeah,
that amazing that's setting, right? So
yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to and looking at, and that's where I'm assuming that it will be Jericho versus Moxley, at least the first time.
Right. Ratings. We didn't talk about ratings last week. It was a pretty significant loss for AEW, but it was also a holiday weekend.
Also, you know what? Who cares?
Holiday week, rather. Ratings this week was 851,000 for AEW, 845,000 for NXT. So AEW rebounded to a certain extent to eke out sort of like a narrow victory tie with NXT for those that care. But we were talking in Discord, and a lot of people in our Discord were like, I don't really care about the ratings. I will continue to read them on the show because they matter to some people. But the biggest thing about the ratings, beyond them being a distraction, beyond them being this albatross and everything that, like we've talked about, is that they kind of fluctuate for like no reason, like a lot. And we used to talk about this all the time on Lucha Underground, where ratings we'd have like a ratings spike in the middle of the season when like nothing interesting was happening for like no reason, and then the next week it would be down again. It'd be like, oh, okay, so there's a certain percentage of this that is definitely you can promote to get better ratings, and there's a certain percentage of this that is just sort of like this person tuned in or didn't. So
right, and honestly, like AEW has a solid base when there's no holidays.
Right.
I hate to say it, and people are gonna have been talking shit like, oh yeah, if they can't compete against the big holiday, what are they gonna do? It's like, okay, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, number one, a lot of people aren't home. That is when a lot of people are starting to travel. They get off work, they travel where they need to go. The other thing is even if people have traveled, what are you going to do? Are you going to watch TV, or are you going to spend time with your family that you haven't seen? Or you're probably cooking because it's a big deal for Thursday of having everything put together. So there's a lot of prep work that goes into that. So it's like, you know what? Who gives a shit?
And we've all got DVR. Like, let's not pretend that like it's easy to get cable without DVR or like sign into our service and stream what you missed. Like everybody's got that shit. So
yeah, like appointment television is dead.
These ratings are still, even at 600,000. It was like, I don't know if people have watched TNT, but I have, and TNT is I don't even know if they're a real TV channel, because on the night before Halloween when they had a show, the lead-in for AEW was fucking Shooter with Marky Mark, and the lead-in last night for AEW was fucking Shooter with Marky Mark. Like,
not even a good movie.
If they're not running sports on TNT, they just run old movies and shit. Like, they don't give a fuck.
No,
like,
they don't have original content anymore.
Right. The only thing that they really care about is sports licensing on that channel.
Which is
everything else
essentially basketball.
Right, and everything else goes to TBS. That's the station where the TV shows are. TNT is literally fucking like Marvel movies. Batman Forever was last week.
Well, okay, Batman doesn't count. Batman was all week. That was on purpose.
Sure.
But yeah, they're
But
doing
literally, there has not been a single week of AEW where the lead-in wasn't like some fucking old movie.
No, because they don't have any. They don't do any original content anymore. They are focused on the NBA. Fair enough. We're gonna have a hard time during March Madness, which is reasonable. Not just of numbers and ratings, but also just it's gonna be questionable on if the show will be on time.
Oh, they'll push it to true. Right?
Yeah, something will probably happen there because March Madness, they have to show all the games for whatever reason. So it's kind of like that. But yeah, I remember even like years ago when they did have live content and original content. They like during the day, all they would show like it was a cadence. Like they would do 2 hours of Supernatural, 2 hours of Angel, 2 hours of Las Vegas, and so on. Like that was their schedule, and like it was great for me. I'm stuck at home between classes. I didn't have anything to fucking do. I'm gonna watch the shit out of Las Vegas. That show's awesome.
Sure.
But you know, that's just the way it's always been. So it is what it is. I don't really chalk much up to ratings, especially on holiday weeks. Things happen, man. It is what it is. I don't, and I'm ratings make no goddamn sense. The only way ratings are calculated are if you have a Nielsen box.
Sure.
And to be honest with you, the only reason you and I have talked about this, the only reason the both of us have cable is because we do this show and we record this show the day after Dynamite airs.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, like,
if we pushed our recording date to Friday or Saturday, I'd cancel that shit in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, a certain portion of it is also that you kind of want to vote with your dollar to support the thing, right? But, like, if I could get on that fucking Fight TV pass, bro, I'd fucking be there because it's a way better experience and it's like fucking $6.
Yeah.
As opposed to like $44. But I want to watch the show live on my television in America without running through like a fucking... I don't even know if I could get a VPN to work on Android TV, which I can't imagine that I would. So I pay for Hulu. Fucking $50 a month or whatever they ask for. So, but anyway, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars, just like Meltzer. It makes us feel so sweet. Jonathan, how sweet?
Too sweet, buddy.
Facebook.com/Seeing the Elite, Twitter @Seeing the Elite. If you really want to be part of the crew, in with our AEW friends from all over the world, tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. That's tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. We'll get you the invite to our Discord server. We are having a blast over there. Last night was awesome. Once again, if you want to become one of our best friends, one of our inner circle, head to patreon.com/Seeing the Elite and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who have watched the show live. We are going to have our awesome year-end special, which will go up. We're going to record it Sunday, and it will go up when I am finished with it. Thanks to our patrons, Adam Dyson, Alejandro Diaz, Bill Laviolette, Chai Latte, Chris Genro, Ale Avoth, Keith Kazulno, Mikhail, Merman, and Peter. Thank you guys so much for helping us make this show better every single week. Jonathan, do you have anything more for these people before we go?
No.
Man, that new Star Wars movie is coming soon, huh? The articles that have been coming out about it are pretty rough.
Couple more weeks. Just a couple more weeks. I'm looking forward to it, man.
I keep maybe I'm just not seeing the advertising for it, but usually I feel like I'm blitzed with advertising, and right now I'm like, is this movie coming out in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, but to the flip side of this is like we really, at least you and I, we don't watch a lot of live content. But yeah,
I mean, I watch 2 hours of wrestling a week.
Yeah,
you know what I
but,
mean?
like-
I just usually, like, even on Facebook, like, I usually see, like, oh, it's coming out, or whatever. Every time there's a Star Wars movie, I really haven't seen it. I've seen more stuff about the fucking Witcher, and granted, that's because I'm like more interested in the Witcher. But
it's been a little bit of an odd one, just of what's going on. I don't know. I think they know this is the end. They've also been pushing the Mandalorian a lot heavier.
they have, which is really strange.
No, because I think it's going to have a larger impact than people are realizing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but we'll see.
yeah, we'll see. Some pretty concerning news coming out of that camp, but luckily we're not a Star Wars podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with another episode of Seeing the Elite, an AEW podcast. Go out and change the world.